Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and I get to show you all the hero changes that are coming to Season 10 early. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest, most, if not all, these changes are very small in comparison to the massive rework that Hammond's gonna be receiving. Most of this video is gonna be focusing and showing the Hammond changes, but of course I wanna be thorough and show off all the changes. So, we're gonna get through all the tank, DPS, and support changes first, and then we're really gonna focus on Hammond because he is the main star of the show, and thank God, because a lot of the changes that he's receiving are finally gonna force him and One Tricks to play with the team. It's gonna be a glorious time, but first, let's look at the rest of the tank changes. So the beginning of Season 10, there's gonna be 5 tanks getting changed, and it's gonna be Doomfist, the Junker Queen, Reinhardt, Sigma, and of course Wrecking Ball, but again, we're gonna save Wrecking Ball towards the end. Now, if you thought Doomfist was getting buffed, oh, no. He's only getting a quality of life change. Basically, your empowered punch, you know, after you power block and you get a full charge fist, it will no longer be canceled whenever you use seismic slam or a power block. This is the definition of a quality of life change. Well, it technically does make Doomfist better in the long run. If you want to consider this a buff, then go ahead. But the Junk Queen is getting a true buff to her Carnage or her Axe ability, where they're going to be increasing the impact damage from 90 damage to 105 damage. Reinhardt is getting some sizable buffs to his Earth Shatter ultimate ability, where the knockdown duration is going to increase from 2.75 seconds to 3 seconds. Okay, maybe that's a little bit more minute compared to the Shockwave range increasing by 5 meters. Previously it was 20, now it's 25. That's pretty good. Sigma's experimental barrier is getting the Sonic speed boost treatment because the movement speed is getting increased from 16.5 meters per second to now 20 meters per second, meaning that you can get that shield in the Widowmaker's face a whole lot quicker. And like I keep saying, we're going to be focusing on Hammond's change in the latter half of the video, and now look at the DPS heroes that are getting changed in Season 10, which is Sombra, Tracer, and not surprisingly, Venture. So now let's look at Sombra's Virus Nerf. Well, the total damage from her Virus ability is getting decreased from 100 to 90, and that's it. That's all the changes she's getting. And Tracer, one of the most overpowered DPS here, I would say, is getting a nerf to her recall ability, where the cooldown is getting increased from 12 seconds to now 13 seconds. Okay, and the pulse bomb base projectile size decreased from 0.2 meters to 0.1 meters. In layman's terms, they're trying to make pulse bomb harder to hit because it's not going to be so generous with sticking to the massive hitboxes that are now in Overwatch 2. But in the case of Venture, it might seem like a nerf on paper, but overall they're just going to be shifting a lot of their power. So in the case of Drill Dash, the impact damage whenever you drill somebody is getting decreased from 60 to 40, but that 20 damage is getting shift over to the damage over time because the damage over time is getting increased from 40 to 60. Same idea with their Clobber melee ability, where the impact damage is getting decreased from 40 to 30, but that 10 damage is getting shift over to the damage over time, where they're going to increase it from 30 to 40 damage over time. And the Tectonic Shock ultimate is getting a nerf where the vertical knockback is getting decreased by 30%, but I would consider this maybe a buff because the most annoying part was waiting for the enemy to come back to the ground where you can shock them with their ultimate. And before we look at the Wrecking Ball changes, there's going to be 4 support heroes getting changed in Season 10, which is Illari, Lucio, Lifeweaver, and Moira. A lot of these we saw in Aaron Keller's blog post, but in the case of Illari's change, the Solar Rifle primary fire recovery time is getting increased from 0.2 seconds to 0.25 seconds, meaning that it takes a little bit longer to pop shots, but her secondary fire, the overall heal output is getting increased from 105 heal per second to now 115 heal per second. So you really want to focus more with healing when it comes to Illari. But when it comes to Lifeweaver, he's just getting straight up buffs, where the self-healing that you get from his dash ability, it's getting increased from 50 heal to 60 heal, but the main star of the show, or the buff show, is this Tree of Life, where every pulse that the tree sends out, originally it healed for 75 heal, now it's gonna heal for 90. That's such a massive buff for him. And Lucio's getting 2 changes where they're going to be nerfing his Sonic Amplifier, which I think is actually a pretty big nerf, for the overall damage is getting decreased from 20 damage to now 18 damage per Sonic ring thingy that you shoot. And I mean, the Sound Wave is getting buffed, for the overall damage is going to increase from 35 to 45. So if you're a Lucio that doesn't land your shots, I guess this is good. And Moira is the final support hero getting changed in Season 10, where her Biotic Grasp damage is getting nerfed from 65 damage to 60. Oh, yep, you hear that? That's the sound of DPS Moore's crying. But hey, it ain't all that bad because her ultimate is getting buffed where the self-healing per second is getting increased from 50 heal per second to now 55. DPS Moras, please heal. This shouldn't matter to you. All right, the Wrecking Ball rework. This is what you're all here for. So I just want to go into this by saying that this isn't like a traditional rework where they're giving him a brand new ability like with Rodog, but rather just enhancing the Wrecking Ball experience. Case in point with the grappling hook. Whenever you shoot the grappling hook, you will now be able to retract it and pull yourself as Hammond, sort of like a fishing line. That's the best way I can describe it. All you gotta do is shoot your grappling hook, hold the jump input, and then you will retract yourself as Hammond, and this will allow you to not only have a more controlled swing depending on how long you want the cable to be, but you can also just hang out and slam whenever you want. Like if you want to hold yourself above a doorway and then slam when the enemies come, you can do that now. Now I do want to point out that if you cancel the ability, you will have a 1 second cooldown if you don't reach the ramming speed. Ramming speed being when you catch on fire and go super fast. And the maximum duration timer will no longer trigger unless you actually reach that super fast on fire mode. But that was just a little appetizer. Now we reach the main course, his adaptive shield. Because now when you activate adaptive shield and you gain the adaptive shield, you will be able to give some of that shield to your teammates. Now, you can only gain up to 300 over health. That's the shield that I keep referring to. And you can only give up to 75 shield per teammate. So if you gain the 300 over health and you have 4 teammates, well, quick maths, that means that you can only give 75 to each teammate. But here's a very important note that it doesn't really specify in the patch notes, is that when you transfer the adaptive shield to your teammates, you as Hammond lose the adaptive shield. So if you're a selfish Hammond main and you don't want to lose your shield, well, I already know what you're gonna do, and you're not gonna give your shield to your teammates. But if you don't want to be selfish, then know that you have to be within 13 meters of your allies. You can't just gain the adaptive shield and then toss it from 100 meters away. No, you have to be right next to them basically. And this 13 meters also applies to how you gain adaptive shield, and this is also a buff to it where beforehand you have to be within 10 meters of an enemy to gain adaptive shield. Now it's 13. And if you didn't like any of those changes, well, rest assured, Hammond mains, you get one last buff to his Minefield ultimate ability where the health of every single mine got increased from 50 health to 60 health. Wait, that's actually such a massive buff. Wait, 50, 60 for each individual mines? Oh my god, that's gonna be annoying. And those are all of the hero changes that are coming to Season 10, and I wanna know your guys' thoughts in the comments when it comes to the Wrecking Ball rework, because I feel like this is like the first rework that people don't really have to compromise with. This just made Hammond better, and it doesn't really take away from a possible selfish playstyle, even though this is more encouraging for Hammond mains to play with the team. We all know how Hammond mains are. They're still not gonna be giving shields away, but we can hope and pray. But as always, if you haven't seen my other video where I look at the Season 10 Battle Pass, it's gonna be popping on the screen right here, and go check it out because there were some really cool skins, especially with the Mythic this season. But until Season 10 comes out tomorrow, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.